Hello, YouTube! I am Pinstar, and this is Factorio Strategy and Tactics Episode 1. So, Factorio is an interesting beast. If you took Minecraft and, if you took Minecraft and Big Pharma and put them together, you would get this game with a much heavier emphasis on automation rather than exploration. We're going to be doing a strategy and tactics series through it, playing through the whole free play game from beginning to end until the new victory condition is met. Also, this is being played on the recently released version 0.12, which is the largest patch in the game's history and has added a ton of new stuff. So I've been playing this game for quite a while now, and I'm going to be teaching you some basics and also some hints, tips, and other strategies in terms of getting your factory off the ground. But also, we're going to be exploring some new territory with some of the new items introduced with the game, and experimenting to see if we can't find some alternative solutions to ways to set up your factory. So, without further ado, let's get started. As an homage to my old Ficklewood town, I can't name our factory Ficklewood. In my original Banished Ficklewood Let's Play Strategy and Tactics series, we generated the map off of a map seed. Factorio has randomly generated worlds, and they are done off of a seed too, so we're going to, as an homage, use the same seed, which is 10221982. And if you guys want to play along at home there, you can use that same seed to get the same map. I'm going to be leaving everything as normal here. Just everything normal. Everything normal, other than the seed. So let's get started. Alright. This is the Factorio free play. Your task is to prepare the planet for colonizing forces from Earth. Landing ships would be an easy target for attacks from the native bases. However, they can be protected by a rocket defense. You will need to research advanced technologies in order to unlock the rocket defense. Start small, work your way up with automation, and don't forget to protect from the natives. So that's pretty much the story of this game. We are an advanced party for a colony ship, and it is our job to prepare the planet for the arriving colonists, and we need rocket defenses, and rocket defenses are pretty much all the way at the end of the tech tree, and there's a lot of infrastructure we need to have set up before we can even get there. So let's get started. So the first thing we need to do here is we start off with a couple of scant materials, but it is enough for us to do. I'm making myself a couple of iron axes here, and we're going to start chopping down some trees because we need that for some fuel. Much like Minecraft, you do start out going after the trees. However, unlike Minecraft, they thankfully give you the materials to make some basic tools, so you're not punching trees at the beginning of the game. Also, unlike Minecraft, like and unlike Minecraft, wood can be both a building material and also used for fuel. Now, in Minecraft, wood is a little bit more emphasized to be a building material. In Factorio, it is more used as a fuel. There are some recipes that require it as a building material, but at least in the early game here, for a little while, we're going to use it as a fuel. All right. Now we have two other things that we started with. We have what's called a burner miner here, or a burner mining drill. And this is a little patch of iron ore. So we're going to set it down on just a part of it here. We are going to set down a furnace right in front of it. And basically this digs up the iron and spits it out at where that little yellow arrow is. That's going to dump it directly into the furnace here, and that's going to smelt it into iron plates, which is a useful material. But in order to do these things need fuel. So I'm going to feed it wood, and I'm going to feed it wood. Tip number one is that the mining drills go through fuel a lot faster than the furnaces do. So if you have an uneven amount of fuel, or if you want to sort of set it up so that the two of them run as long as possible, you want to put the lion's share of the fuel into the drill. All right, so while that is cooking, I'm going to continue to cut down some trees here. We do have a desert start, which means trees are going to be a little on the short side in terms of their availability, but we have what we need, really. There's, you don't need a ton of wood. In other maps, when you start with a foresty area, sometimes trees become more of a nuisance than a resource, and the area is just so lousy with trees that it becomes a nuisance. Now, the other thing we need to do is we need to get another one of these drills built, and that requires some iron, which we're making up here, but it also requires a little stone. Now, since we don't have anything that's mining the stone, we're going to mine the stone next. And here's a little tiny patch of stone, but this is all we really need at the early game. We're going to mine up a little of the stone ourselves. Now, as you can see how slow this is going? 3, 4, 5. You could technically do this for all the resources you need, but it is so slow. It's much faster to set up a mining drill that just keeps... I mean, the mining drill goes as slow as you do. Probably a little slower, actually, but it does it constantly and by itself. And then this thing is converting the things over. You can't do that by hand, but we can grab those iron plates. We've got that stone, and that is enough materials to make the burner miner drill. Takes a little bit of time to process, but now we have that miner drill. Boom. Now, the stone that we'll be bringing up, we don't need to process it. We can just use the stone raw for the moment. So I'm just going to get a chest made out of wood. We're going to feed it some fuel here, and now it's going to start spitting out stone into that chest, and we can harvest it whenever we feel like it. So while that stuff is cooking, I'm going to continue to hit up the trees around here. It's also good to make room for other building areas, because we are going to be building up our factory here. I'm waiting for a decent amount of stone to appear, and also more iron plates. By control left-clicking, you can harvest the materials that are waiting inside of a building without having to bring up its dialog box. I mean, here I could click on this, drag it to my inventory, and be done with it, but I'd rather just control-click and grab whatever is available. Same goes for here. I'm going to grab that 15 stone. That will be enough for 3. I need 5 more stone. So I'll just run over and grab this tree. Because I'd like to have for the coal, which is our next target here. I like to have 4 drills. All right, that's enough stone. What am I missing? I'm probably I'm lacking in iron most likely. There we go. 4 drills. That's more like it. 4 drills lets you have a quite appreciable amount of coal production here. And there's a little trick. This is sort of like what I call a merry-go-round of coal here. If we put it like that, rotate it like that, rotate it like that, and then rotate the 4th one like that, they're all pointing into each other. And in this case, if we just put a single unit of fuel into one of them, it's going to start digging up coal. It's going to dump the coal into this one. This one's going to use the coal as fuel, and it's going to pour it in this one. And this one's going to use the thing, and blah, 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 blah. Now, you might ask, well, to what end? I mean, yeah, it's great they keep themselves supplied with coal, but, I mean, you're not getting any of that. Well, we can, because the other nice thing is, by doing that control click, you can skim off the excess fuel. So by boop, 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 we skim off the excess fuel, and they're still going to keep feeding themselves, so I don't have to keep putting stuff in there. I can just skim off the coal and get what I want. So now I can start using coal for fuel, which is awesome. All right, I need another mining drill and another stone furnace, rather. So I'm going to manufacture them because we need some copper. Now, looking at the map here, good thing to explore the map. We've got our coal over here. We've got our iron deposit over here, the little silvery bluish thing here. These purple dots are oil deposits. Not useful to us right at this very second, but they will be later in the game, so I'm glad I have them. Some more iron over here, very, very useful. Unfortunately, I'm a little low on copper. The closest copper I have are these 2 little tiny deposits over here. Thankfully, you don't need a ton of copper in the early game, so those 2 little deposits will actually suit our needs for a while. We are going to have to eventually upgrade and do some more with them. But at least for the time being, we can rest easy that yeah, you're gonna get the wood. You're gonna get these. We can rest easy that we have access to something. Some maps are like some map seeds or some randomly generated maps are just complete mothballs. They will be completely devoid of one or more critical resources, and you have to wander all over creation just to get a patch of it. And you can't really get your early game going until you do, and then you're wandering into the alien bases, and it just becomes nightmarishly difficult. I will admit that I did poke my head into this map and took a look around to make sure it was viable before doing a Let's Play series on it, but thankfully, the Factorio gods smiled on me, and my old Ficklewood map seed is a viable one. All right, now the other thing I want to do is this. What we're going to need a lot of iron in the early game, a lot of iron. This one by itself is not going to cut it. I need more. I need 3 more and 3 more furnaces. Because we want a good healthy amount of iron production here, and I'm just going to line them up right here along the sides, like so, and get there. You can build stuff on top of deposits. I mean, these furnaces aren't going to be mining anything from it, but yeah, they'll still be good. While I wait for the fuel here, I'm gonna start them off. Start off the drills first, because the drills will dump the raw materials here. They're not going to get smelted till I give the furnaces fuel, but then I can just go back here, skim off some more coal, and feed them some fuel. By left-clicking a stack, you cut it in half. So we can do that, give you that, and then give you that. And more or less balance. It'll keep these 4 producing. I can skim off the iron plates here, skim off the stone here, and just every time you pass this little merry-go-round here, just skim it. Whenever you just wander by it, just skim it. Because you're going to need a lot of coal in the early game. Eventually, we're gonna make it so that the coal works for us, and we don't have to constantly babysit those items in order to get the coal ourselves. But for the moment, this is sort of the Stone Age. When you're dealing with stuff that doesn't, when you're working with only buildings that you have that don't require research, this is basically the Stone Age. This is as low tech, inefficient as you can get, but you kind of have to do it because you don't have any better tools at your disposal. But we're not going to dabble in the Stone Age for too long here, because we've got the basics what we need. We're getting stone, we're getting coal, we're getting iron plates, we're getting copper plates. That's sort of the foundation for what we need here. So I'm going to transition to our next phase, which is getting electricity going, because electricity opens up a huge world of possibilities and also allows things like research. The lab requires requires power. Now, right now in the early game, the only form of electricity available to us is the steam engines, and there is a sort of a golden build for it. And this is not something I came up with. This is actually kind of a sort of a golden ratio that the community's kind of researched out, and I don't quite have enough materials for it. It does start out with an offshore pump, because in order to get steam, you need water, and in order to get water, we need a pump, and we also need more fuel for that pump up, for that drill up here. Here you go, buddy. Enjoy. Skim off more plates, and yeah, all right, that's looking better. So after getting, I did make the pump. Okay. You also want to get one pipe to ground, because you need to transport the water, but you want to transport the water underground, and I'll show you why in just a moment. Now the setup that we're going to be doing here is a long one. It's going to be very, very long. So you want to sort of plan out an area that has a lot of free space lengthwise, maybe not so much widthwise. And I'm actually kind of liking it right here, because here it should not run into this iron ore deposit. And we can spam it more and more if we require more and more of it. So I'm pretty happy with that. So we're going to stick this offshore pump right here. So that will give us water once we can do something with it. And now the pipe to ground gave us 2 units. We're going to put one against the offshore thing, and we're going to draw the rest out as far as it'll go here. So the dotted lines mean it's close enough to make a connection. No dotted lines, too far away. So as far as we can get away with here. All right, the next part of this is we want boilers. This will heat up the water, and we need to do that to turn it to steam. We want 14 of these bad boys. We can make 17. Right-clicking makes 5, so right-click, and then 4 left clicks will give us the items that we want. The other thing that we want is we want 14 burner inserters. These are going to be what we use to actually feed the furnaces, because keeping, it's already a pain in the butt to keep these 8 things going. Keeping 14 things fed with fuel manually, no, more trouble than it's worth. And again, automation is the name of the game here. So we're going to get right-click, 1, 2, 3, 4, and that will get 14 burner inserters. The other thing that we want is 10 steam engines. That's how many of these things can be powered by it. So, boom, boom. Oop, you're out of fuel. Oh, and you guys are all full of fuel. So let's go harvest that coal, so you guys can make more. Oh, a little tip here: if you grab coal here and then control left click here, you can actually it's basically the reverse. You deposit the fuel into the area. So boom, and we can sort of top off these others. There we go. That's pretty much all the coal I had. Let me just skim off let me skim these off again and go restock the copper, and also skim a little more copper off of there, because I am going to need the copper plates for wiring. Alright, no signs at the moment, knock on wood, of the aliens, which is a good thing. Yeah, you're gonna run out pretty soon, but you'll be all right for now. Yeah, super early aliens can be a little deadly. Because right now all we have is a pistol and 10 bullets, and we don't have the wherewithal to make anything more potent. Alright, so we've got our boilers, we've got our things. So we're going to set the boilers up right across from here and put them all in a line, like so. As you can see, they all want fuel. So what we're going to do is we're going to set up our 14 burner inserters to feed them, like so. Now, right now, the inserter grabs something from over here and puts it in here. Right now, there's nothing over here, but we're going to remedy that. The other thing we want at the end of this is these steam engines. And are we going to reach? It steps on it a little bit, but we can still make use of this full deposit without problems. Excellent. All right, let's make these electrical poles here, because we do need that if we're going to get power up and running. Let me harvest the coal again, and then restock the copper, because I am going to need more copper wiring here, because that is an integral part of the poles. The power poles, at least the tier 1 version of them, is one of the items that actually requires physical wood as a physical material. And actually, the reason I couldn't make more power poles is I need more wood. So at this point in time, since I've got my coal harvesting engine up and running, any wood I do collect is going to be reserved for power pole production rather than burning it for fuel. If this was a forest start and the area was just lousy with trees, then wood would be a fuel for much longer into the game, as long as we needed fuel, honestly. And we do need fuel, but not in the way that you can provide it easily with wood, because wood doesn't automate very well. Thankfully, we have coal for that, and that is what we are going to be primarily using. Alright, so with that back on there, let me make a few more of these just to have them in my pocket. All right. Now, just to sort of jump kick our... well, actually, what we need to do, we need to... Yeah, first off, let's feed you some fuel. So we'll skim some coal off of you guys again. Pretty soon we will have coal in a means that is self-sufficient. Actually, let's do this the efficient way. Just top you all off. There we go. And then let me skim the plates. And that will be enough, because we're going to need to make a bunch of transport belts here. Because we need to basically get the coal from here up to here, so that these burner inserters can then automatically grab it and feed the boilers. While we're waiting for all of that to finish up, I'm going to lay out my power poles so that we can basically get these things going. Little tip for you: if you want to string out your poles so that the maximum distance is between them without breaking the wire, just click and hold while running, and it will automatically place a new pole once you've reached the maximum distance. So all of these are still covered by poles, so they can add their electricity to the grid once they're powered up. All right, we're getting plenty of stuff in here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to sort of I'm going to adjust these a little bit. Not going to completely dismantle them, but I'm just going to adjust where they are, basically how they're used here. And this is another little trick that I do to sort of keep these fed, is put them far apart like this. And what I do is we put a belt in here, and for each of these we put a little, have these feed the belt just like this, so that their production goes onto this central column here. But 1, 2, 3, 4, get 4 more burner inserters, and rotate it so that these basically grab things off of the belt to feed themselves. Yeah, that's right. So that when these things start producing, they will need fuel themselves. The burner inserters will grab the stray piece of coal and feed it to them, and then they will continue producing. So what I'm going to do is prime all of you. Well, hang on. I prime this one and then prime the burner inserter so it has the fuel to... And then I just need to prime all these burner inserters, and as these things spit out coal, the burner inserters will grab it. Nope, is that one not able to grab it fast enough? No, it is not. Or maybe it's just getting stolen by this one. Alright, hang on. Let me just loop it down a little bit here. You give that one a chance to grab them. There we go. So now this little area is going to feed itself, but it's also going to, it's not going to burn as much coal as it uses. So we can now extend this belt up here. I am going to take the liberty of, since this belt needs to go over here, of bringing it by our little stone extractor and having a burner inserter do the same thing essentially for this side here. So we can keep this little structure with coal as needed. Yeah, let's grab that stone. I mean, there's not much stone left to this deposit, but this way it'll just keep going. All right, so we'll get you up like this. This is swinging it a little wider than it needs to, strictly speaking. I may adjust it in the future, but now there we go, perfect. So now all of these are in range here, and we got that. So all we need to do is just prime the pump, so to speak, for all of these burner inserters. And yes, I know I'm using the wood, but it's just 1 unit each. The rest they'll start feeding themselves. They'll start feeding themselves coal as needed. So we only need to feed them once, because they won't move at all when they're out of fuel. But once they have a little fuel, they'll know to feed themselves in addition to moving their stuff to the boilers. All right, so now they're grabbing all this coal and they're feeding it to the boilers. The boilers are making the water hot. The heated water is what allows these things to generate power. Now you can see here that they're not actually generating any power. That's because there's nothing around to actually use the power. And I need more iron. Oh, the other thing to note is this big long line here, I can't run through it. I can't run through it. I have to go around it. That's why we wanted this pipe to ground over here, because this provides a space for me to move around my factory, and also for space for other things like belts to go through. So that is the reason why I told you to do that. All right, so we got plenty of iron plates. What was I? Oh yes, I needed a lab. So the first thing I like to do that uses electricity is to make a radar, and we're going to put this as far as we can, and ooh, I see the little gaspings of a base over there. So this radar is going to start scanning the area for us, giving us an idea of what there is to see. The other thing I like is a lab, because that's going to allow us to get research going. Now, the very first thing I like to research is automation, because that gives us access to this assembly machine 1. Up until this point, we have been doing nothing but manufacturing things by hand ourselves. This thing is going to allow us to set it up so that a machine manufactures things for us. And that's going to be extremely important to the core of the gameplay going forward. Because like I said, automation is the name of the game. So we will do that. Now, unfortunately, it needs 10 red science packs. And so we got to make those by hand. So let us do that. Now, making science packs by hand takes a long time. Now, when it's only 10, I mean, it's not the end of the world to make 10 by hand. But if you needed, say, 200 of them, making 200 science packs by hand, no bueno. So that's why you really need to start getting automation going. So while we wait for that to cook, or while we wait for our science packs to cook, thankfully while you're manufacturing things, your character can be doing other things. I'm not entirely sure what is manufacturing them. We can re-get our stuff here. Let's see how you are. Yeah, we'll top you guys off on fuel. There we go. Wait, did I just suck out the coal? No. Okay, good. Just wanted to make sure I didn't actually just rob it of its coal. I wanted to give it coal. Because for the time being, having those sit down there is fine. Alright, so now that we have our 10 science packs in our inventory, we need to dump them into the lab. And the lab will start burning them up, essentially, and the more science packs they burn up, the more our progress bar goes up to here. And after having burned up 10 red science packs, we will have completed our research on automation. So, in our next episode, we are going to actually put that automation to use as we slowly claw our way out of the Stone Age and into some more automated and modern methods here. So stick around; it should be a fun one. So if you like this episode and you want to see more like it, go ahead and hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and leave me a comment. Good, bad, or indifferent, your feedback is always welcome. So until next time, this has been Pinstar signing out. See ya!